Hello, this is Ian Lewins, the Foundation Programme Tutor at Derby. As this is the first year we're going to be using the HORUS eportfolio for the Foundation Trainees ARCPs, I thought it'd be useful to produce a short video for both trainers and trainees looking at how the ARCP panel will be looking at their summary of evidence that they need. So I've just logged in as normal to the HORUS eportfolio. I'm going to click on Trainer menu, and that will bring up the trainees that I'm supervising currently, and I'm very grateful for them allowing me to use their portfolios for this video. So firstly, I'm going to open the portfolio for my F1 trainee, and on the drop down menu on the right I'm going to click on Overview. And then halfway down the overview page is this ARCP section and summary of evidence, and it's this that we're going to click on and have a look at. So this is the summary of evidence form that we'll be using at ARCP panel, and I just want to run through the requirements that the trainees need to demonstrate. The first requirement is provisional registration and licence to practice with the GMC. Now this data, as it says here, is not held on the HORUS eportfolio, but it's held with the postgrad office, so we know that already. Similarly, the requirement number 2 of completion of 12 months of F1 training taking into account of allowable absence. Again, this data is held with us in the postgrad office and isn't plugged into the HORUS eportfolio. So we know this already, but you as a trainee and a trainer won't be able to see it on HORUS. The trainees already know what their absence is and have met with us if there are any concerns. The next requirement that will appear on the ePortfolio is the Satisfactory Educational Supervisors End of Year Report. Obviously this isn't done yet, but will need to be completed by the time that ARCP comes around. Now, in previous years, we've used the End of Placement 3 report interchangeably with the end of year report. As it stands, we're not quite clear how HORUS will react to that, and I don't want us to be in a position where it's going to reject it. So I think what we need to be doing as supervisors is completing separate end of placement 3 reports and separate end of year reports. So the end of year report that's satisfactory, hopefully, will go in this section here. And this will go alongside the Satisfactory Educational Supervisors End of Placement reports for the 3 placements that the trainee's undertaken in the year. The next requirement as it goes down are the Satisfactory Clinical Supervisors End of Placement reports. And again, these will sit here. If there are any concerns, then we'll be able to click on and view those reports. The next section then, moving down, is the satisfactory completion of all Foundation Programme curriculum outcomes. And what the trainees have been asked to do is to demonstrate that they've mapped their curriculum to all the 20 FPCs that they've got. What I'll show you here is by clicking on Curriculum Mappings, and this will take them to the curriculum overview, and we can see that this trainee has mapped plenty into section 1, 2, 3 and all the way down. So this trainee has actually mapped at least one piece of evidence for all 20 domains that we're looking for. And for ARCP, the trainees are being asked to map at least one piece of evidence per domain. If there's any lack of clarity as to what these domains actually mean, if you click over here on the descriptors, it will tell you what we're looking for in each section. So for every single section there is a descriptor both for F1 and F2. And equally, if the trainee feels that there are domains in which they are either lacking completely or are short of evidence, they can click on the e-learning for health accounts, and it'll give them e-learning for health topics that they can complete that will allow them to provide evidence for that. They do need to be aware that not every section, such as this section here, domain 5, demonstrates engagement with career planning doesn't necessarily have an e-learning for health module available, so they need to demonstrate something separate to that. So we can click that down. So I can see that this trainee has provided evidence in 20 out of 20 domains. And what I need to do as an educational supervisor is rate each section of those domains. And this is done by clicking Rate Progress Now. So if I click on that, having reviewed their curriculum, I then need to, for each section, decide whether they are satisfactory, partially met, or not yet met. For example, here in section 1, it's for their professional behaviour and trust. And all these must be done. This is something that the old NEST portfolio was a bit clunky about, and often this didn't get done. But this is much easier on the HORUS ePortfolio and will need doing. So once you've had a look at the curriculum mappings and rated it, we can move on to the next section, and that's the tabs. So their team assessment of behaviours. HEE have stipulated that they need to have a minimum of 1 satisfactory tab per year. Here in the East Midlands, we've actually asked for 2 traditionally. Now, one of the features of HORUS is that in the past, when trainees have done placements such as general practice, they've often struggled to get 10 responses to their tabs. And we've been able to sort of give a degree of leniency to say, okay, we know you struggle in this placement, but actually looking at that tab, although you've not got 10 responses, that's satisfactory. And as an educational supervisor, I've been able to rate that as satisfactory. In HORUS, if you get less than 10, it will not allow you to give a satisfactory outcome for that. And what we've therefore done is taken that into account when we've reviewed all the tabs of the F1s and the F2s. So those trainees who need to do an additional 3rd tab round have been informed well in advance and should be undertaking them as it stands, so that when it comes to ARCP, they'll be able to demonstrate at least 1 and preferably 2 satisfactory tab rounds. And that's going to sit there. And if there are any concerns, we can again click on it and look at that tab round individually. Following on from the tab rounds is the next bit, which is for the F1s only, which is the core procedures. And there are 15 GMC mandated procedures that they need to have achieved and have signed off. And I can see that for this trainee, so far they've achieved 9 of the 15, and they can and I can see which ones are incomplete, so they can target to get these done and have them uploaded by the time ARCP comes around. The next section is the successful completion of the PSA, the Prescribing Safety Assessment, and as it stands, all our foundation Year 1 trainees have successfully completed this. They simply therefore need to have this uploaded, and as I've said to the trainees, I can only assess, and you as an educational supervisor can only assess what's there, so it must be uploaded for satisfactory standard outcome at ARCP. Equally, they must upload a valid ILS certificate. So I can see that my trainee, although I know for a fact she's done it, as it stands, she's not yet uploaded it, and that will need to be uploaded by the time ARCP comes around. The next requirement is evidence of participation in systems of quality assurance and QIPs. Now, the Foundation Year 1 trainees do not need to have done a QIP or an audit in this year. It is mandatory for F2 but not for F1. If an F1's chosen to do a QIP or audit, then that's fine and that can be uploaded here, and they can then use that as evidence in Foundation Year 2. The other bit that does need to go here are the end of placement surveys and the GMC survey. So those certificates that the trainees have, or the screenshots that they have demonstrating that they've completed those surveys, they get uploaded here. So I can see that these have not yet been uploaded but will need to be uploaded. Moving on, we're then into our SLEs, our supervised learning events, and I can at a glance see how many SLEs this trainee's done, and it breaks it down into the mini-KECs, DOPs, CBDs and DCTs. And the trainees are well aware the minimum amount they need to demonstrate for ARCP. So I can see that my trainees not completed, but well on the way with regards to their mini-KECs and DOPs. CBDs are satisfactory, and I can see that they still need to do a DCT by the time they come to ARCP. These three sections here are simply saying the CBDs and DCTs, and you see above in the table, so they're slightly redundant. The next section, moving down, is an acceptable attendance at the generic foundation teaching sessions. And again, this is not information that HORUS physically stores. It's information that we in the postgrad office know, and the trainees also know. They are aware that the requirement is 70% at attendance at teaching, and therefore if they've dropped below that 70%, there should be some demonstration of an effort to have made up that difference for those sessions missed with appropriate e-learning. And at the bottom is just the signed probity and health declarations. With regards to the e-learning, if you wish to see what e-learning your trainee has done, we can come back up to the top here, and on the drop down menu, clicking at the bottom is the e-learning for health, and I can see that this trainee's done 2 bits of e-learning for health. So that's what we're looking at for the F1s. The F2s, very, very similar. If I go back to my supervisee list and click on my F2 trainee, and I go down to the ARCP summary of evidence, it looks very, very similar to the F1s. So all the top bits are exactly the same. And again, we've got some curriculum mapping, which needs rating. The tabs, as you'll see here, this is the section for the F1s with the mandatory procedures that the F2s do not require. The valid ALS is a mandatory certificate that the F2s have to produce. And again, this trainee has uploaded it, and I can see it there if needs be. It's these certificates that you might see as a pop-up that appears that they require approval or confirmation by the educational supervisor. Again, it's not quite clear what HORUS will do if you don't, as an educational supervisor, click on the confirmed or approved button. So it would make sense to make sure that all those buttons are clicked to say, yes, I confirm, or I approve this certificate is appropriate. As you'll see here, this trainee's updated and uploaded quite a bit of evidence in terms of their participating in systems of quality assurance. So not only have they all uploaded the mandatory F2 audit, but they've also uploaded their GMC and end of placement surveys so far, and that's what we'll be looking for. So the only thing missing there so far would be the subsequent end of placement 3 survey. Again, moving down, we've got the SLEs, the attendance and the declarations, and that's it. And that's the summary of evidence that we will be reviewing at ARCP panel to enable us to make a decision. If you've got any questions about that, please do not hesitate to contact myself or Dr. McCulloch as the Foundation Training Programme Director, or any of the team in the postgrad office. Okay, thank you very much.